Hello, everyone, and welcome to my 100 Epic Reads of a Lifetime reading vlog. This is number 15. What the hell? So many years has gone by, so many books have been read. So for the month of May, I am tackling Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I think I got it right. This is a very famous Russian novel written in the 1800s, and it is about a main character named Raskolnikov. I've just been calling him Rascal in my head, and his crime that he commits and the eventual punishment that he faces. So far, I am only 130 pages into it, and I'm not as connected or as captivated as I would like to be. I'm not sure if it is the translation that's causing me some issues, but it's very oddly translated, and I'm not really connecting to a lot of what's going on. I am understanding the story and what is eventually going to happen and is going on, but I just don't feel as captivated by it as I should, and I'm a little bit disappointed in that. However, I do like where the story is going. So the story is that the main character has killed two people in a rash decision in order to steal a few of the pieces of gold and money that they have because they were pawnbrokers, and he did not think it through at all. He barely escaped with fate and luck on his side, and now he's having like 100 pages long friggin' mental breakdown because of the decisions that he made and how he killed people. And so far, no one in the book has suspected him of doing anything wrong, despite a bunch of evidence, despite the way he's acting in this mental breakdown, and despite just a bunch of other stuff going on. I think it's really funny that he is punishing himself so hard mentally and physically for what he's done, and the people around him are just like, "What's wrong, buddy? What's got you down? Oh, it's because you're poor. That's why you're acting like this. Oh, it's because your sister's marrying a guy you don't like. That's why you're freaking out and telling people you killed people and running around screaming." I really, really like that. I also really, really enjoyed the thought process of him planning to kill these two people. I thought it was very funny and very interesting. There's like a dark, humorous tone going on in the novel, and I really, really like this sort of comedy, not of errors, but like comedy of like self, like paranoia and just the general events of what's going on in the novel. Although where I am at, I'm not sure how the story is going to turn, because the whole thing can't be him having an internal freakout and everyone around him going business as usual. I'm sure there are people who are eventually going to try and track him to the crime, as well as probably other family drama going on, because he's going to see his sister and her new husband and like deal with that. So I wonder if he's going to like crash out completely and affect them somehow, or what's going to happen. I actually don't know. So far this has been pretty neat. I'm not as captivated as I think I should be, but I'm not sure. It could just be an issue with the translation with this edition, but I'm not hating it so far, and I'm looking forward to reading more of it. So stay tuned for my updates and final thoughts. Hello, this is just a quick update to say that I am still making my way through Crime and Punishment. I am over halfway done now. Let's see the actual page. I am 305 pages into this, and I have gotten into it now. I know my first clip, I said I wasn't really connecting to it due to the translation. I have gotten used to the translation, I have gotten used to everybody's names, and now I am truly in this. It is still continuing the plot line of Raskolnikov just freaking out anytime anyone mentions anything to do with the crime that he committed, and freaking out on people for no reason, and them just kind of taking him as is and not questioning anything. But now there is people in charge of the investigation, and they are intentionally or not really, really screwing with him. And I said to my sibling that this is very much kind of like the Death Note L and Light thing, where they're kind of like
intellectually and philosophically debating each other about the thing, but they're not saying it. It's very underlying. It's very like contextual. And I think that that is a very creative way to show that these two characters are clashing, but they could both just go, what are you talking about? I wasn't talking about that. You are the one who is thinking about this. Are you the killer? I really, really like it. So far with the family drama, that is a little bit harder to get through because a lot of it is just casual discussion and a lot of stuff involving the main character's sister and what she's going through, dealing with a lot of like weird marriage stuff, a lot of weird people on her case, and a lot of the characters in here being connected to Raskolnikov and his own internalized view of what being a criminal is and how a person in society should act. He kind of sees himself as above people without really saying it, but there was that whole debate that he had with that one character based on that article he wrote when he was a student about how there are just some people who are just naturally above the law and they can just get away with it, and then there's the rest of society where they should be following the law. And the one guy's like, well, do you think you're the guy who's higher? And he's like, well, who's to say? Meanwhile, he has killed someone and believed that he got away with it, but it's punishing him in his head. So there's just a lot of really good philosophical stuff going on in here, and I am looking forward to the climax of events if anything huge happens. For example, I just got to the part in the book where there was going to be a huge climax where Raskolnikov admits possibly that he was the killer, but then a guy bursts in and just admits to the crime. So I'm wondering what the hell that is going to mean for the rest of the story and whether Raskolnikov is going to get caught or punish himself in the end. So we're going to stay tuned for that. But I am enjoying this a lot better than in my last clip for sure. I am fully in this now, and I am glad to be fully in this now. It is a lot of fun, and I can totally understand why this is some people's like favorite book. It's just so funny and fun to be in his weird little paranoid head. So stay tuned for my final thoughts very soon. So I have finished Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky, and I'm going to be giving this one 3.5 stars. I thought this was a pretty fun little crime novel, a lot of discussions of philosophy and psychology. I loved that the entire time the main character was just going through it because he didn't think he was going to be going through it after murdering people, but then he realized, hey, I'm not above everybody, I actually do have a conscience. And so the way he's just treating everybody and the way he is trying to atone for what he did while at the same time trying to deny what he did, while at the same time trying to think he is above everyone after what he did is just fascinating stuff. I didn't think a lot of the characters were very interesting, but I do understand like the whole plot with his sister and everyone connected to that was important, as well as the plot connecting to the poorer people of the town that he was in, paying for their funeral, getting into a relationship with that one girl was all important for his atonement at the end. At first I thought the atonement at the end was a sort of add-in by the publisher to make the story a happy ending, but then I found out that the author actually did go through something like this. Only that he shared the same ending fate as Raskolnikov. He was also exiled to Siberia for a decade. So him adding that as a little bit of a nod of a piece for himself, that's totally fine. Ultimately, I did enjoy the novel. I felt that the translation was a little bit of a weaker one, so hopefully with my other Russian novels that I have to read off of the poster, I will get a better translation, but I did enjoy this one. I enjoyed it was kind of funny to see him freaking out over everything, and then when he's in situations where he thinks he's going to be caught, things just don't turn out that way. And I really liked the relationship between him and the guy who was trying to catch him as well. I liked their game of cat and mouse, and I liked the way that he was tricking him the whole time. So yeah, this novel wasn't too bad, and I don't think I would have ever read it if it weren't for the poster. I think a lot of the Russian translated literature I might have skipped if it weren't for the poster. So I'm glad that I finally sought out a nice classic like this.
So I already have my book picked for the month of June. I'm going to be reading Love in the Time of Cholera by... oh, I can't remember his name right now. Marquez? I will know, obviously, in the next clip, but stay tuned for that.
Okay, so for the month of June, I am currently reading Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I am about halfway through the novel now, and I am not really connecting to it as much as I thought I was going to. I understand that Marquez is like the author of a lifetime, and I can acknowledge that. He has an excellent writing style, just excellent chosen words, wonderful flow of writing, flow of storytelling, interesting details and descriptions. And he has one of those writing styles that, like, sure, you can adapt the story into a movie or some form of visual media, but, like, the novel is the way to tell the story because of the tangents he goes on, the way he describes things, the method in which he describes things, and the order in which he describes things. He is entirely a novelist, and he is a very, very good one. But as for the plot of the story, it is not that interesting to me. The plot is about three characters: a man named Florentino, who is in love with a girl named Fermina, but she rejects him and ends up marrying a man named Juvenal. And the story is all about them, and so far I haven't really connected to Florentino just being in love with Fermina and having that drive to be with her even though she says no, no matter what. I know now he is going to start having all of his love affairs now because that story has been set up. I like the story between Juvenal and Fermina a lot better than the story that is following Florentino right now, and ultimately I just don't think this is going to be a favorite off of the poster. I hear that 100 Years of Solitude is people's actual favorite from Marquez, so we'll see when I get to it because it's also on the poster, but for now this story is pretty just what it is. It's just about love and the details of life and the wide decisions and experiences that Florentino is doing in order to try and get the love of his life, but he's gonna go have a bunch of affairs. I don't really get it yet, but we shall see by the end how it all ties together. Obviously my favorite part was the inciting incident with the parrot. I thought the parrot was very, very funny. So stay tuned for my further thoughts as I finish the novel. So I have finished Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and I am only giving the book 3 stars. While I think that the author has a wonderful writing style and that the story was really succinct and well done, I just think I didn't really connect to it as much as I thought that I should. And I really, really hope that his other book that will be on the poster, 100 Years of Solitude, will be more up my alley. I just thought that the going through the story of a romance, like romance versus more practical marriage and love, that stuff was well enough, but it just was not capturing my attention like I think it should have. And I didn't really enjoy the book as a whole. So yeah, I thought the ending was also pretty predictable, but that's not a problem. Obviously that was what was going to happen. And I suppose in a way it was a good way to show how the fantasies of romance aren't really going to be the reality of the situation. So yeah, that was my final thoughts on Love in the Time of Cholera. Next month I plan to listen to a gigantic audiobook of Dune, so stay tuned. Okay, here we are for the month of July. The book I am currently reading off of the poster is Dune by Frank Herbert. I am currently listening to the audiobook, which I think is making the sort of sci-fi element a little bit easier to digest for me. They also have a full cast of characters playing most of the roles, so that has been helping as well. Although a lot of the ambient space sounds haven't been, to my liking, but otherwise, so far, it is a pretty good audiobook. I am 52% of the way through the book, and I am actually surprised that I am enjoying it as much as I am. If you hear sounds, I am babysitting my uncle's elderly dog, Darby. Basically, this book is just a political coup against the main character, Paul Atreides' family. They move to a new planet, the basically sand desert planet, Dune, sandworms. They're getting used to everything when there is a political coup against them by the enemy emperor. And essentially it is Paul discovering that he is some big special. He is the big special, and he is smarter than everybody else. So that's essentially the plot of Dune, but I am not hating it. Look at Selena. Should you be up there? As I was saying, I am actually surprised that I am enjoying the novel so much. I thought that Dune was going to be a lot of very heavy world building, a lot of kind of space gobbledygook. I watched Dune Part 1, and I don't remember anything except for the sand planet. What's his name? Timothy Chalamet with like a plug in his nose. Oscar Isaac was there, Rebecca Ferguson, Jason Momoa. Other than that, it was very boring. So I thought that the novel was going to be very boring, very spacey, very like sand science gobbledygook. But so far it has been a very personal story with a lot of political intrigue, and the writing is very, very good. Of course, the first chapter has the fear is the mind killer monologue, and I enjoyed that a lot. And I think that it is a very introspective book. A lot of the book is you are in the interior thoughts of all the characters and discovering how they're betraying who, doing what, killing for what, and deciding what to do when they are trapped on the sand planet. So far it has been pretty good. Now, as for the rest of the novel, I don't know what to expect because I have only seen Dune Part 1. I never saw Dune Part 2. I know Zendaya will show up eventually. So stay tuned for my final thoughts, but yeah, I'm actually surprised that I don't hate this as I thought that I would. Stay tuned.
Audio Renaissance presents Dune by Frank Herbert, read for you by Simon Vance, with John Alleyne, Scott Brick, Kent Broadhurst, Alan Burrows, Orla Cassidy, Jason Culp, David R. Gordon, Jamie Heinlein, Byron Jennings, Patricia Kilgariff, Ilyana Kadushin, Ewan Morton, Scott Sowers, and Oliver Wyman.
Just wanted to show you the lady before I film my update. Look at her. Yeah.
So I have just finished reading Dune by Frank Herbert, and I will be giving the novel 3 stars. As for the second half of the novel, I thought things were a little bit rushed, because while we have Paul coming into himself and coming into the fact that he is the big special, and his main dark purpose is to kill the people who are currently in power and usurp their control, it's just all way too quick. His sister is suddenly toddler age, and then he suddenly has a son that it has a bunch of events that deal with him. So it was just all a little bit rushed in that aspect, because I didn't think that years needed to go by in order for this coup to take place, this sort of counter coup against the people who did the first coup in the first place. But I thought the ending was satisfactory enough. The return of the phrase, "May thy knife chip and shatter," was a really good callback. I thought the fight was really, really fun against those two foes, and I thought that the book ended well with a really good arc establishing Paul Atreides' rise into becoming this great big ruler guy when he started off the novel as this inexperienced kid. One thing I really liked about the novel was the focus on a lot of the female characters. A lot of the female characters had a lot of power and control in this world. However, a lot of the men call them witches as a result, but I thought that the characters of the Bene Gesserit and Paul's mother Jessica, and then Paul's partner Cheney were really, really interesting, as well as the arrival of Paul's weird little sister Alia, who like has a sort of adult knowledge put into her before she was born. I really enjoyed those characters. And I know that there was a lot of chapter beginnings from the princess that Paul eventually marries. I'm sure she is in the rest of the series as well. But I just thought that a lot of the female characters, their chapter point of views, mostly Jessica, were very, very interesting, and I'm glad that we got them. I like the idea of the Bene Gesserit, this like cult group of women who gain all of this knowledge, perception, and the ability to sense things that other people can't. I just think that is a really interesting addition to this world that could have just been basically Star Wars with more emphasis on worms. You know what I mean? It could have been a boys' club. It could have just been all action-based. But no, the introspective nature of the Bene Gesserit really added to the novel for me. So while I was surprised that I actually enjoyed the novel, it is still only getting 3 stars because I do not think I'm going to be continuing with this series. I usually don't enjoy sci-fi, so I don't think I really have the drive to continue on in the series. However, I have more pop culture knowledge of these books now, so when I hear stuff about the movies, I will be in the know. So that was it for this month. That was me reading Dune. Tune in next month for when I will be finishing this video off by reading A Wrinkle in Time. So stay tuned.
Listening Library presents A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle. Read for you by Hope Davis. With an appreciation read by Ava DuVernay.
Okay, here we are in the month of August. For this month, I am reading A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle. So far, I am about 35% of the way through the audiobook, and so far it is about a main character named Margaret, who is going on an adventure with these 3 kind of witchy, powerful women through space and time to try and find her missing father. So far, the writing of the novel has been pretty straightforward because it is a middle grade, but they are explaining a lot of the science and physics very, very well, especially for children, and this is going to be a mean thing to say, but this is a book that is just saying stuff to you. It is telling the story in a way where it thinks that you're smart. And this is a middle grade book. There are lots of books that are considered new adult, young adult, adult, that talk to you like you're an idiot, that relay the story to you like you're really, really dumb. And books like this for children, they assume that you want to learn, that you're curious, and that you want to be smarter. So they do a lot of quotes, a lot of explanations of science, of history, all of that good stuff. And it is trying to help you improve your intelligence and understand what you go through when you're growing up. So there's lots of themes like grief and not believing that you're smart enough to understand things, and like etc. Meanwhile, there are books out now that are just dumb idiot books for stupid idiot babies, and just reading a book like this is really refreshing compared to books that sort of beat you over the head with very simple concepts and don't really get into proper intelligent things. Not every book has to be the smartest book ever, but you need to treat me like an adult when I'm reading, and I can't believe a book for children is doing a better job of that than a lot of modern published books marketed towards adults. So far I am enjoying the book. The audiobook is pretty short. It is only 6 hours in comparison to what I read last month, that being Dune, which was 21 hours. So I am glad to be finishing off this quarter of reading with a shorter book, and I will let you know my final thoughts very, very soon.
Excuse me? Can I keep scratching, please?
neighbors have once again decided to just saw everything in their backyard and just make little projects doing absolutely nothing. So if you hear power tools, it's not my fault. I have finished A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle, and I am giving the book 3 stars. I thought it was an excellent young adult sci-fi novel with themes of family, intelligence, being yourself, and hope against a sort of dark world without any hope. I thought it was a very, very nice little story for what it was, and I enjoyed listening to it. I especially liked the character of Charles Wallace because he was just a little guy who was very, very special, and he ended up benefiting their adventure. He was not just the baby brother who was a burden, he was someone who was leading the way. He eventually faced conflict, and he was saved in the end, and he was very, very helpful in their cause. So I really, really liked Charles Wallace as a character, and I was really, really satisfied with the story. I understand there are more novels that follow. They're considered companion novels and not sequels, but I don't think I will be checking those out. So I think the story of A Wrinkle in Time is satisfying enough. So with that story finally out of the way, I now have 88 books that I have read off of the 100 Epic Reads of a Lifetime poster. I only have 12 left before I am completely finished. Now, I don't know if I will be able to finish it all this year. That was my reading goal for 2025. However, it would only leave me with 4 more books that I would have to read, so I could just carry it on in one final vlog, and I think I can handle that. So stay tuned for my next vlog coming out next quarter for the end of the year. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you are interested in more videos, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.